Jay, this big dog right here. And this isn't a battle because we know he's the team's wide receiver one. My question to you is, does he pay off his ADP cost right now? And I'm talking about that dog out of LSU, Malik freaking Nabers, Jay. I mean, he is being drafted very, very high right now. Yep. He's being drafted ahead of players like DJ Moore that we talked about. His underdog ADP, I believe, 25, 26 overall. Malik Nabers coming off the board. We started the show off talking about Devontae Adams and his disdain of quarterbacks Brian Hoyer, Jimmy Garoppolo, and whoever else the hell the Raiders have. Could we see a similar sort of outburst from Malik Nabers at some point in time from whether it's Daniel Jones or Drew Lock, who may end up playing? Yuck. Mr. Young Jeezy, I put on lyric knower of all things. Is Malik Nabers going to pay off his ADP costs? Like, going into this training camp, here's the thing, Jay. Last year, I can't recall who the analyst was, but there was some analyst who was pumping up.
It wasn't me.
The Giants to high heaven. I mean, every Daniel Jones passing clip was posted. All I know is whoever the hell that was, I can't be sucked in to that propaganda again in 2024. I will not allow it to happen to me, Jay. I don't know if you got caught by that bug, but are we going to do it again? Are we going to do this again? Because you know they've got some of the best social media shit in the game. It's going to look amazing.
New York does not miss.
It is going to look good. But are you going to buy into this? Are you going to do it again, Jay?
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask the viewers a question.
Yeah, everyone in the chat's laughing. I'm with you. Never forget. We got to find that guy. There's a lot of laughing. Who was that? Won't get fooled again. Me either. Jorge from Rhode Island. Me either.
Yeah. A great philosopher once said, can't get fooled again. The question for you, over the last 2 seasons, how many targets do you think the wide receiver one had for the New York Giants? Just give me a number.
130.
Combined, maybe. No, the answer is 79 is the most targets a wide receiver has had for the Giants over the last 2 seasons. In 2022, the number one wide receiver had 71 and 70 targets for the wide receiver 2 and 79 and 78.
Well, they haven't had a one. That's a trick. They haven't had a wide receiver 1.
The point is, Ray, last year they threw the ball 447 times. The year before that, they threw the ball 400 times. And now you want Malik Nabers to be a 150 target guy in an offense that's probably going to throw the ball, 550 maybe? He could get target consolidation for sure, but the reality is it's been a relatively low ceiling from a target standpoint. Yes, of course, Malik Nabers is the most talented player they have, but if you're projecting him for more than, 130 targets, you're probably mistaken, right? So that's the bigger thing, is that as much as I love Malik Nabers, and I've been saying this for a long time, one, he has an 875 over-under, which is a lot lower than his ADP indicates, which is not good. And then on top of that, he makes the other players around him much better than they make him. So he will draw coverage, he will see double teams potentially, and it will open things up for some of the other players who have talent, but definitely can't do it on their own. And that's what scares me about Malik Nabers. He could see 120, 130 targets. The quality's probably going to be bad from Daniel Jones, and I think he makes the other players around him much better than they make him, and that's a bit of a problem for him as well. So when they have a limited running game with Singletary, who will be fine and knows the offense under Dable, I think you look at a low ceiling potential for Nabers, especially at cost. So when you talk about Nabers versus cost, I definitely think he's a little expensive,
so vibe with me.
Unless something changes.
Vibe with me here then. Let's play the scenario out, Jay. Let's operate on the assumption that he has a Drake London-esque season where he's clearly the number one priority for the team. You can see the talent, right? You see the flashes, but he only puts up 800 yards, 700 and something yards. He does not surpass his Vegas total right now.
Yeah.
Coming off of what just happened with London for 2 years, Garrett Wilson, a little bit like Garrett Will. I'm just going to lump those two.
It won't be like those are two different situations. So it is different. You're talking about 50 target difference between those two players.
It's a big difference. So let's stick with London. If he has a Drake London-esque season, do you think people are going to sort of just hold on to it and eat it for a couple of years like we did Drake London? Or do you think dynasty gamers are going to say, man, I don't want to do this shit again. I just did this with Drake London. And let's just say, Jay, that London starts off good, but it's not Puka Nacua. It's not Devontae Adams to where you're sitting back thinking, man, I waited 3 years for the type of production that I could have just traded for Brandon Ayuk and gotten those points. Like I could have just taken Brandon Ayuk and gotten the same type of points.
Yeah, you could take Deontay Johnson plus a second and probably get the same production.
Are people going to hang in? Because if it fails this year and he doesn't go well, Dayball's probably gone. Daniel Jones is probably gone. They're looking for another quarterback. Like, it may be a similar trajectory that we've seen from Drake London. So just vibe with me in the world. If things go well and he smashes, I mean, he's going to be awesome. Even if they have a new quarterback, they'll be like, look at what he did with Jones. They've upgraded him to Carson Beck or whomever the hell it may be. But if it fails, what happens to Neighbors? And are people going to want to ride, that train again and knowing what happened with Drake London?
I think if they change quarterbacks, they will, right? You brought up Garrett Wilson. We know that Zach Wilson is not good. We've always known that, really, since Garrett Wilson got there. And Garrett Wilson was still very valuable. Same case with Drake London. 117 targets, 72 receptions, 866 yards, but only 4 touchdowns in his first season. 2 touchdowns last year. And this is what's held back Drake London probably more than anything from having a higher upside fantasy value. 6 touchdowns in 2 years, not going to get it done. But that's what you should look at when you talk about Malik Nabers. If he's not creating the touchdowns for himself, they're probably not going to come. And that's what's difficult when you talk about him. I think he will hold value because, one, he was a high pick, he plays in a big market, and he will definitely flash, right? Like, the flashes will be there. So I think you're looking at a Drake London type of trajectory. But the question for you, Ray, and I think the decision you have to make is there good enough quarterbacks in the next draft class to where you believe Malik Nabers can see an uptick in value once they draft a new quarterback? Because I think we all expect that to happen and want it to happen. But if the quarterback play isn't good enough, then at that point, what are you waiting for, right? Is it 2026? And we know that class doesn't necessarily look to be too good either. Now, things can obviously change, but it isn't like last year where we had 3 quote-unquote top quarterbacks that had been in college, been established, played very, very well. This year is the renaissance where we're not so sure who's going to come out and who's going to be good, and there's still the chance some of those juniors stay for their senior season.